This isn't just a story about gold. It's a story about trust, transparency, and a high-stakes political debate that involves some of the most famous names in the world, including President Donald Trump and the tech billionaire Elon Musk. It's a story that is happening right now, and it asks a very simple but powerful question. Who is counting America's gold, and can we trust the count? So, get comfortable, because this is going to be a fascinating journey. Today's lesson is designed to do more than just tell you an interesting story. By the end of our 40 minutes together, you will have achieved 3 important goals. First, you will understand a major political and economic debate happening in the United States, involving its gold reserves. This will help you understand news headlines and conversations on a much deeper level. Second, and this is a big one for many English learners, we are going to master a very important piece of grammar, the passive voice. I know, the passive voice can seem confusing. Many students tell me they find it tricky, but I promise you, by the end of this lesson, the passive voice will be made simple for you. You will understand why it is used, especially in news and formal reports, and how to use it correctly. And third, we will power up your vocabulary with 10 new, powerful words related to politics, finance, and accountability. You'll not only learn their meaning, but you'll see them used in real-world examples from our story today. This lesson is your key to sounding more knowledgeable and confident when discussing serious topics in English. So, are you ready? Let's begin. To understand our story, we first need to talk about a legendary place, Fort Knox. The name itself sounds strong and secure, doesn't it? Fort Knox is officially known as the United States Bullion Depository. A depository is a place where things are stored for safekeeping, and bullion means precious metals like gold or silver in the form of bars. So, Fort Knox is where a huge amount of America's gold is stored. This famous fortress was built in 1936, right in the middle of a very difficult time in history known as the Great Depression. At that time, the U.S. economy was in deep trouble. To help fix it, the President, Franklin D. Roosevelt, made a controversial decision. A new law was passed, and American citizens were ordered to sell their private gold to the government. This gold was collected from banks and individuals all across the country, and all of that collected gold needed a home. A new home that was incredibly secure, almost impossible to break into. That home was Fort Knox. It was designed to be the ultimate safe house for the nation's wealth. For decades, the world has believed that this gold is sitting safely in its vault. It is a symbol of America's economic strength. But recently, a serious question has emerged. A question that is making a lot of people nervous. The question is all the gold really there? The problem is that a full and complete audit of the gold at Fort Knox has not been conducted for many decades. An audit is an official inspection of an organization's accounts, and in this case, an inspection of the physical gold. Imagine, you have a savings box. You trust that your money is inside. But what if you hadn't actually opened it and counted the money in over 70 years? Would you still be 100% sure everything was there? That's the situation with America's gold. This lack of a recent audit is causing a big problem. It's eroding trust. To erode means to slowly destroy or wear something away. And the lack of transparency is eroding people's trust in the US government and in the US dollar. This is happening at a time when the government is spending a lot of money and the national debt is growing. People are worried about the future, and they are starting to ask for proof. They want the government to open the vault and prove that the gold is safe. This growing concern has led to a major new development. Just last week, 4 members of the U.S. Congress introduced a new bill. A bill is a proposal for a new law. This bill is called the Gold Reserve Transparency Act. The name tells you exactly what it's about: making the country's gold reserves transparent. Transparency means being open, honest, and not hiding anything. This proposed law is demanding some very specific things. First, it calls for a full audit, inventory, and inspection of all the gold that is held by the United States. An inventory is a complete list of items, so they want a detailed list of every single gold bar. Second, the bill demands full transparency on all gold-related transactions over the last 50 years. A transaction is an instance of buying or selling something. They want to know if any gold has been bought, sold, loaned, or swapped. In simple terms, they want to see all the receipts. One of the congressmen supporting the bill, Thomas Massey, said something very powerful. He said, "The American people deserve transparency and accountability from the institutions that are supposed to be good stewards of our nation's money." Accountability means being responsible for your actions and being able to explain them. He is saying the government has a duty to be honest with its citizens. This call for an audit is not just coming from politicians. Experts in the private sector are also raising alarms. Stefan Gleason, the CEO of a company that runs a massive private gold depository, has expressed deep concern. He said that decades have passed since the last real audit. He even mentioned that records have been lost by the Treasury Department, and that vaults were mysteriously opened and resealed without new audits being done. He said these sloppy procedures would never be accepted in a private business. An audit is not a one-time job. It needs to be done regularly to maintain trust. The situation, he says, is alarming and completely unacceptable. Alarming means it is worrying or frightening. This is where our story gets even more interesting and connects to the wider world. The push for this new law is happening as countries and investors around the globe are starting to diversify away from the US dollar. To diversify means to add variety. Instead of putting all their trust in the dollar, they are buying gold. Gold is seen as a safe asset because it has no third-party risk. Its value doesn't depend on a government's promise. It's just pure, valuable. Metal J.P. Cortez, who leads an organization called the Sound Money Defense League, supports the audit bill. He hopes it will help restore faith in the U.S. dollar. He points out that central banks around the world are reducing their holdings of U.S. dollars and are actively trying to repatriate their own gold. To repatriate means to bring something back to its own country. For example, for many years, Germany stored a lot of its gold in the United States. But recently, German politicians have expressed concern and are pushing for that gold to be returned to Germany. This shows that even America's allies are becoming worried. J.P. Cortez says that protecting America's gold is a matter of national Security. Because gold is the ultimate form of money, recognized everywhere in the world. Now let's bring in the famous personalities, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. This entire debate about government efficiency and trust is a stage where their different philosophies clash. Before this new bill was introduced, Elon Musk had publicly stated that he wanted to audit the Fort Knox gold reserves himself. He suggested doing this on behalf of a new government department he proposed, called DOGE, which stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. Of course, no official plan was ever made, but his statement showed his deep interest in questioning official stories and demanding proof. It's a classic Musk move. See a problem and suggest a direct, bold, and unconventional solution. On the other hand, Donald Trump, as a former president, represents the system that is now being questioned. The lack of an audit is something that has continued under many presidents from both political parties. The conflict isn't a direct personal fight between them on this specific issue, but a clash of ideas. Musk represents the outsider, the disruptor, who wants to use technology and a business mindset to force transparency. Trump represents the political establishment, which is now under pressure to prove it is accountable to the people. So, we have a situation where a group of politicians is taking official action with a new law. We have experts warning about the serious risks. And we have the symbolic presence of two of the most powerful figures in America, representing two different approaches to solving the problem. The question at the heart of it all remains: who will count the gold, and what will they find? The answer could change the world's trust in America forever. This is a perfect moment to pause our story and dive into our main grammar topic for today, the passive voice. You may have noticed that I have been using it a lot while telling the story. That was intentional. The passive voice is used constantly in news reports, official documents, and historical stories, exactly like the one we are discussing. So, what is the passive voice? Let's make it really simple. In most sentences, we use the active voice. The active voice focuses on the person or thing doing the action. For example, Congressman Massey sponsored the bill. The subject, Congressman Massey, is doing the action, sponsoring. The passive voice flips this around. It focuses on the person or thing that receives the action. The person who did the action becomes less important or is not mentioned at all. So, the active sentence, Congressman Massey sponsored the bill, becomes, the bill was sponsored by Congressman Massey. Do you see the change? The bill, which received the action, is now the subject of the sentence. The structure is subject, followed by a form of the verb to be, like is, are, was, were, has been, followed by the past participle of the main verb. The past participle is the third form of a verb, like spoken, written, or, in our example, sponsored. Why do we use the passive voice? There are a few key reasons. First, we use it when we don't know who did the action. For example, my car was stolen. We don't know who stole it. Second, we use it when it's not important who did the action. The action itself is the important part. For example, the law was passed last year. The important fact is that the law is now active, not necessarily every single person who voted for it. Third, and this is very relevant to our story, we use it in formal, objective, and scientific writing. It sounds more official and less personal. When you read a news headline like, "A new bill has been introduced," it sounds more formal than saying, "Some congressman introduced a new bill." It focuses your attention on the bill, which is the main subject of the news. Let's look at some examples from our story. Active. President Roosevelt built Fort Knox in 1936. Passive. Fort Knox was built in 1936. This is better for a history lesson because the focus is on Fort Knox, the famous place, not just the person who ordered its construction. Active. The Treasury Department has lost important records. Passive. Important records have been lost by the Treasury Department, or even more likely in a news report. Important records have been lost. The focus is on the problem, the lost records. Active. People need an audit to restore trust. Passive. An audit is needed to restore trust. This makes it sound like a general objective truth rather than just a personal opinion. The passive voice is your friend when you want to sound more formal and academic. It is a key part of reaching a higher level of English proficiency. We will look at more examples later, but for now, I want to give you some practical ways to practice what you've just learned. Learning is not just about listening to me talk. It's about you taking action. So here are some techniques you can use this week to practice both the story and the grammar we are learning today. First, for your listening skills, I want you to actively listen for the passive voice. When you watch the news in English, perhaps on BBC News, CNN, or Voice of America, pay close attention. How many times do you hear sentences where something was done or has been decided? Keep a small notebook and try to write down 3 examples you hear each day. This will train your ear to recognize it instantly. Second, for your reading skills, find an online news article about our topic today. Just search for Gold Reserve. Transparency Act. Read the article slowly. With a highlighter or just by copying sentences, identify every sentence that uses the passive voice. Then, try to change it back to the active voice. This exercise will deeply improve your understanding of the sentence structure. Third, for your speaking skills. This one might feel a little challenging, but it's so effective. Try to summarize the story of Fort Knox and the audit bill to a friend, or just to yourself in the mirror. Your challenge is to use the passive voice at least 5 times. You could say things like, "Fort Knox was built to protect America's gold. For a long time, an audit has not been done. Now, a new bill has been introduced. It is hoped that transparency will be restored." Finally, for your writing skills, write a short paragraph, maybe 100 words, about a famous building or landmark in your own country. Describe when it was built, who it was designed by, and what it is used for today. Your goal is to use the passive voice to make your writing sound like an official guidebook. This is excellent practice for formal writing. Remember, practice is the bridge between knowing and doing. Choose 1 or 2 of these techniques and try them this week. Now that we've covered the story and some practice techniques, it's time to zoom in on some of the most important words from our lesson. Building a strong vocabulary is like giving yourself superpowers in a new language. These 10 words will help you discuss today's topic with much more precision. Our first word is audit. That's spelled A-U-D-I-T, audit. An audit is an official examination of an organization's financial records to check that they are accurate. In our story, it also means a physical check of the gold itself. For example, the new bill calls for a complete audit of the US Gold. Reserves. A regular audit is necessary to prevent fraud. Our second word is reserve, spelled R-E-S-E-R-V-E, reserve. A reserve is a supply of something that is available to be used if it is needed. We often talk about gold reserves, oil reserves, or cash reserves. For example, the country's gold reserve is stored at Fort Knox. It is important for a central bank to have strong foreign currency reserves. Our third word is transparency. This is a longer one, spelled T-R-A-N-S-P-A-R-E-N-C-Y, transparency. Transparency is the quality of being easy to perceive or detect. In this context, it means being open and honest, without secrets. For example, the congressmen are demanding more transparency from the Treasury Department. Transparency in government is essential for a healthy democracy. Next, we have legislation. Spelled L-E-G-I-S-L-A-T-I-O-N, legislation. Legislation is a law or a set of laws that have been passed by a parliament or Congress. The word bill refers to proposed legislation. Once it is passed, it becomes legislation. For example, the Gold Reserve Transparency Act is a piece of proposed legislation. New legislation was introduced to protect the environment. Our fifth word is accountability. Let's spell that out. A-C-C-O-U-N-T-A-B-I-L-I-T-Y, accountability. Accountability means being responsible for your actions and being able to explain them. For example, the bill is designed to increase government accountability. The CEO took full accountability for the company's failure. Number 6 is depository. Spelled D-E-P-O-S-I-T-O-R-Y, depository. A depository is a place where things, especially valuables, are stored for safekeeping. For example, Fort Knox is the official U.S. bullion depository. The company operates a private depository for gold and silver. Our seventh word is alarming. That's A-L-A-R-M-I-N-G, alarming. Alarming means worrying or disturbing. It describes a situation that makes you feel frightened or concerned. For example, the expert said the lack of audits was alarming. The rapid decline in the bird population is alarming. Next up, diversify, spelled D-I-V-E-R-S-I-F-Y, diversify. To diversify means to start to produce a wider range of products or services, or in finance, to invest in a wider range of things to reduce risk. For example, investors are advised to diversify their portfolios away from just stocks. Many countries are trying to diversify their economies and not just rely on oil. Our ninth word is repatriate, spelled R-E-P-A-T-R-I-A-T-E, repatriate. To repatriate means to send or bring something or someone back to their own country. For example, Germany is taking steps to repatriate its gold reserves from the United States. After the war, many refugees were repatriated, and our 10th and final word is ultimate. That's ultimate, ultimate. Ultimate means being the best or most extreme example of its kind. It can also mean final or fundamental. For example, J.P. Cortez called gold the ultimate form of money. Her ultimate goal is to become a doctor. There you have it. 10 powerful words. Try to use one or two of them this week in your writing or speaking practice. Now that we've powered up our vocabulary, let's move on to the next section and review our grammar point with even more detail. We're going to look at more specific examples of the passive voice right from our story. Seeing it in context is the best way to make it stick in your mind. Let's look closer at the passive voice in our story. We can organize our examples into a few categories. First, let's talk about the bill, the Gold Reserve Transparency Act. Notice how these sentences focus on the bill itself. The bill has been introduced in Congress. It was sponsored by 4 representatives. If the bill is passed, a full audit will be conducted. Here, the focus is on the bill and its journey, not just the people behind it. Second, let's talk about the gold. The gold is the object of everyone's attention, so the passive voice is perfect for describing it. A large amount of gold is stored at Fort Knox. It is believed that the gold has not been audited for decades. Concerns have been expressed that some gold may have been sold or leased. In these sentences, the gold is the subject. We are describing what is done to it or what is thought about it. Third, let's talk about the need for action and public opinion. The passive voice is great for expressing general beliefs or official needs. It is said that trust in the dollar is being eroded. An audit is needed to restore public confidence. The American people deserve to be told the truth about their assets. Using "it is said" or "it is believed" is a very common way to report a general opinion without naming a specific source. It's a very useful structure for formal essays and discussions. Let's try a quick exercise together. I will give you an active sentence, and I want you to try to change it into the passive voice. Ready? Active sentence. Elon Musk proposed the Department of Government Efficiency. Think about it. The object is the Department of Government Efficiency. The passive sentence would be, the Department of Government Efficiency was proposed by Elon Musk. Excellent. Let's try one more. Active sentence. The government must protect the nation's assets. The object is the nation's assets. The passive sentence would be, the nation's assets must be protected by the government. Or even more simply, the nation's assets must be protected. You see? The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. The passive voice isn't scary. It's just a different way of looking at a sentence. It's a tool, and today, you have learned how to use it. Now, I want to share a short, inspirational story with you. It connects to our theme today: transparency and accountability. The story of the Gold Reserve Transparency Act is about a country wanting to look inside its own treasure chest, to be honest with itself and the world. This idea of a self-audit, of being transparent and accountable, is not just important for governments. It's incredibly important for us as individuals, especially as language learners. Think about your English learning journey as your own personal Fort Knox. Inside you have treasures, the vocabulary you know, the grammar you've mastered, your listening skills, your confidence. But sometimes we are afraid to do an honest audit of our skills. We are afraid to open the vault and see what's really inside. Maybe we are afraid to discover that our grammar is not as strong as we thought, or that we are missing some vocabulary. But just like the experts in our story said, an audit is not a one-time thing, and it's not something to be feared. An honest audit of your English skills is the most powerful step you can take towards real improvement. It means being brave enough to say, I am not good at the passive voice yet, or I need to practice my pronunciation of this word. That admission is not a failure. It is the beginning of a plan. It is transparency. When you are honest about your weaknesses, you can start to fix them. You can seek help. You can find the right lessons. You can practice with purpose. The congressmen in our story are asking for an audit because they want to build a stronger, more trustworthy foundation for their country's future. I encourage you to do the same for your English. Be your own auditor. Be brave, be honest, and be accountable to your own goals. Don't hide from your mistakes. Shine a light on them, because that is where the real learning happens. That is how you build a foundation of English skills that is as strong and as valuable as solid gold. We have covered so much ground today. We've traveled to Fort Knox. We've explored a major political debate. We've mastered the passive voice. And we've learned 10 new words. It's time to bring it all together. So, what are our key takeaways from this lesson? First, we learned about the important and ongoing debate over auditing the US gold reserves. We learned about the Gold Reserve Transparency Act and why transparency and accountability are so important for a government and its currency. Second, we took a deep dive into the passive voice. We learned that the passive voice is formed with the verb to be and a past participle. And we learned that it is used to focus on the receiver of an action, especially in formal, official, and news contexts. It is a key tool for higher-level English. And third, we have added 10 fantastic words to our vocabulary: audit, reserve, transparency, legislation, accountability, depository, alarming, diversify, repatriate, and ultimate. These words will allow you to discuss complex topics with more confidence. Before we finish, I want to leave you with a final message of encouragement. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you are not making progress. There will be grammar points that seem impossible to understand at first. There will be times when you are afraid to speak because you might make a mistake. Please, remember this. Every single mistake is a learning opportunity. It is a sign that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And that is the only place where growth happens. Be persistent, be patient with yourself, and most importantly, Be confident. Trust in your ability to learn and improve. You are capable of so much more than you think. Thank you so much for joining me today at Grow English Mastery. Your time and your effort are valuable. I hope this lesson was found to be helpful and interesting for you. Now, I would love to hear from you. What do you think about the story? Should the US gold be audited? What is your opinion? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this lesson and want more deep dives into fascinating topics like this one, please show your support by hitting the like button, sharing this video with a friend who is also learning English, and of course, subscribing to Grow English Mastery so you don't miss our next lesson. Until then, keep practicing, stay curious, and be proud of your progress. I'm Scarlett, and I can't wait to see you again next time. Goodbye for now. Hello and a very warm welcome to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and I am so glad you are here for what is going to be a truly explosive lesson. What happens when two of the most powerful and famous men in the world have a very public fight? It's more than just drama. It's a battle that can affect national policy, billion-dollar companies, and the political landscape. Today, we are diving into a clash of titans, a high-profile feud between the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, Elon Musk. This is a story of how a powerful alliance turned into a bitter rivalry, playing out for the whole world to see on social media. We will explore the accusations, the threats, and the personal insults that have defined this incredible conflict. Our learning goals for today are exciting and very practical. First, we will follow this dramatic real-life story to improve our English listening and comprehension. Second, we will learn 10 key vocabulary words that are essential for understanding modern political and business disputes. Third, we will master 2 very useful grammar and language points. We will compare direct and reported speech, and we will learn some common informal English idioms that you hear in everyday conversation. And finally, you'll get some great tips on how you can practice these skills. This lesson proves that learning English can be as exciting as watching a thriller movie. We are going to break down this complex feud into a simple, clear narrative. So, let's get ready for the main event. To truly understand this feud, we need to remember that these two men were not always enemies. In fact, Elon Musk once served as an advisor to President Trump. They were, for a time, allies. But that relationship has spectacularly fallen apart. The most recent and explosive conflict was ignited by a massive new legislative package, a super bill, proposed by the Trump administration. Just minutes before the Senate was scheduled to hold a critical vote on this bill, Elon Musk launched a fierce public attack. Using his social media platform X, where he has over 220 million followers, Musk did not hold back. He called the new bill insane and destructive. He claimed it would destroy millions of U.S. jobs and strategically harm the country. He argued that the bill protected old, outdated industries, while severely damaging the industries of the future. But he didn't stop there. He made a direct political threat to the president's party. He warned, "The polls show that this bill is political suicide for the Republican Party." Political suicide is a powerful phrase. It means an action that is so unpopular or damaging that it will cause a politician or a political party to lose immense support and power. The feud also got very personal. In separate posts, Musk even made a very serious accusation linking President Trump to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. This was a claim that the White House strongly denied. Later, Musk posted an apology for some of his posts, admitting, "I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. I went too far." This phrase, "to go too far," means to behave in a way that is considered unacceptable. This apology showed just how personal and messy the conflict had become. So, how did President Trump respond to this public attack from the world's richest man? He retaliated with equal force, also using his own social media platform, Truth Social. First, President Trump offered his own explanation for why Musk was so angry. He claimed it wasn't about policy, but about money and power. He said Musk was upset for two main reasons. The first reason was that the new bill would end the large federal subsidies for electric vehicles. Subsidies are money given by a government to help an industry or business. These subsidies are very beneficial to Musk's company, Tesla. The second reason, according to Trump, was that he had rejected a person that Musk had recommended to be the new leader of NASA, the American Space Agency. After giving his reasons, Trump went on the attack. He belittled Musk with a personal insult, writing, "Elon started getting lippy, and I asked him to leave." The informal phrase "to get lippy" means to speak to someone in a rude or disrespectful way. Then President Trump made a very serious and powerful threat. He threatened to cut the federal contracts and subsidies that go to Musk's companies. This is a huge threat. Musk's company SpaceX, for example, has billions of dollars in contracts with the US government to launch satellites and astronauts into space. Cutting these contracts would be a direct attack on Musk's business empire. This feud is more than just a fight between two famous people. It is a historic clash between two different kinds of power. On one side, you have the immense political power of the President of the United States. On the other side, you have the immense technological, financial, and media power of Elon Musk, a man who controls key industries and one of the world's largest social media platforms. The outcome of this battle could have enormous consequences. Now, to better understand this war of words, Let's learn some key vocabulary. Here are 10 important terms from our story. Our first word, feud. Feud is spelled F-E-U-D. A feud is a long and bitter argument or fight between two people, families, or groups. For example, the lesson is about the explosive feud between Trump and Musk. The feud between the two families has lasted for generations. Our second word, bill. Bill is spelled B-I-L. In a political context, a bill is a formal statement of a planned new law that is discussed before being voted on. For example, Musk strongly criticized the new legislative bill. Congress is expected to vote on the bill next week. Our third word, criticize. Criticize is spelled C-R-I-T-I-C-I-Z-E. To criticize someone or something is to express disapproval of them by talking about their faults. For example, the billionaire used his platform to criticize the new law. His boss criticized him for being late to work. Our fourth word, retaliate. Retaliate is spelled R-E-T-A-L-I-A-T-E. To retaliate is to hurt someone or do something harmful to someone because they have done the same to you. For example, the president threatened to retaliate by cutting federal contracts. If you attack them, they will surely retaliate. Our fifth word, subsidy. Subsidy is spelled S-U-B-S-I-D-Y. A subsidy is money given by a government or an organization to help an industry or business keep the price of a service or product low. For example, the bill would end the federal subsidy for electric vehicles. The government provides a large subsidy to farmers. Our sixth word, contract. Contract is spelled C-O-N-T-R-A-C-T. A contract is a legal document that states and explains a formal agreement between two different people or groups. For example, SpaceX has many government contracts. You should always read a contract carefully before you sign it. Our seventh word, ally. Ally is spelled A-L-L-Y. An ally is a person or country that helps and supports another. For example, Musk was once considered an ally of the president. During the crisis, they were our most important ally. Our eighth term, political suicide. Political suicide is spelled P-O-L-I-T-I-C-A-L-S-U-I-C-I-D-E. Political suicide is an action that will cause a politician or political party to lose their power or position. For example, Musk warned that passing the bill would be political suicide. Voting against the popular opinion was an act of political suicide for the senator. Our ninth word, explosive. Explosive is spelled E-X-P-L-O-S-I-V. In this context, explosive means a situation that is very sudden, loud, or exciting, and likely to cause angry or dangerous feelings. For example, the feud between the two men has become explosive. The meeting was explosive, with a lot of shouting. And our 10th word, consequences. Consequences is spelled consequences. Consequences are the results or effects of a particular action or situation. For example, this public feud could have serious consequences for both men. He must face the consequences of his actions. These are great words for describing modern conflicts. Now, let's look at the grammar and language that bring this drama to life. Our first grammar point today is looking at direct speech versus reported speech. Our story is full of direct quotes, especially from social media. It's a great opportunity to understand the difference. Direct speech is when we use the exact words that someone said. We put these words inside quotation marks. For example, Musk's direct quote was, "This is absolutely insane and destructive." We use direct speech when we want to show the speaker's exact emotion and personality. It has a very strong impact. Reported speech, which we have studied before, is when we report what someone said without using their exact words. We often use the word that, and we change the verb tense. For example, Musk said that the bill was absolutely insane and destructive. We use reported speech when we want to summarize what someone said or integrate it more smoothly into a paragraph. Let's compare. Direct speech. From Trump. Elon started getting lippy, and I asked him to leave. This is very powerful. You can hear his voice and his attitude. Reported speech. President Trump said that Elon had started getting lippy and that he had asked him to leave. This is more formal and distant. It reports the information but with less emotional impact. So, a good writer or speaker chooses between direct and reported speech depending on the effect they want to create. Our second language point today is learning some informal English and idioms. The language used in this feud was not always formal. Let's look at some of the phrases. To go too far. This means to do something that is considered extreme or unacceptable. Example, when Musk apologized, he said, "I went too far." To get lippy. This is a very informal idiom that means to be disrespectful or rude when you speak to someone, especially someone in a position of authority. Example, Trump accused Musk of getting lippy. To call someone out. This means to criticize someone publicly for something they have said or done. Example, Elon Musk called out the president's new bill on social media. A war of words. This is a phrase used to describe an argument between two people or groups that is fought by publicly criticizing each other. Example, the media is reporting on the war of words between Musk and Trump. Learning these informal phrases is very important because you will hear them all the time in movies, on social media, and in conversations between native speakers. How can you practice this? Try finding a short interview on YouTube. Listen to a question and answer. First, write down the exact words the person said. Direct speech. Then, try to rewrite it in your own words, using reported speech. For the idioms, try to write a new sentence for each one to help you remember its meaning. To finish our lesson, I want to share another story of a famous rivalry between two titans, but one that ended very differently. This is the story of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. For decades, Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, and Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, were the two biggest figures in the personal computer revolution. They were also bitter rivals. Their companies competed fiercely. They often criticized each other publicly. Jobs famously accused Gates and Microsoft of making products with no taste and no originality. Gates thought Jobs was often difficult and strange. Their rivalry defined the tech industry for many years. It was a true clash of titans. But as they got older, something changed. After Jobs was forced out of Apple for a time, and then returned to save it, and after Gates stepped down from Microsoft to focus on his philanthropic work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, their perspective shifted. They began to talk and meet occasionally. In a famous joint interview in 2007, they sat on stage together, laughing and sharing stories about the old days. They praised each other's contributions. Gates said he admired Jobs' incredible taste and design skill. Jobs said he admired how Gates had built Microsoft and then dedicated his life to giving his fortune away to solve the world's biggest health problems. Near the end of Steve Jobs' life, Bill Gates visited him at his home. They talked for hours about their families, their lives, and what they had learned. The rivalry had softened and transformed into a deep, mutual respect. They understood that they were two of the very few people on the planet who knew what it was like to build something that changed the world. Their story shows that even the most intense feuds can end with wisdom and appreciation. We have explored a truly dramatic clash of personalities today. Let's review our key takeaways. First, we learned about the explosive feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, which started over a new legislative bill and escalated into personal attacks and business threats. Second, we learned 10 key vocabulary words to describe this conflict, including feud, retaliate, subsidy, and political suicide. Third, we mastered two important language points: understanding the difference in impact between direct and reported speech, and learning some common informal English idioms like to go too far and to get lippy. I hope this lesson was not only useful for your English but also a fascinating look at the intersection of power, personality, and politics. You are building the skills to understand these complex and important stories from the real world. Thank you so much for your hard work and for joining me today at Grow English Mastery. If you enjoyed this lesson, please let us know in the comments. And of course, please don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting lessons. Keep learning, stay curious, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Goodbye for now. Hello and a very warm welcome to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and I am so glad you are here for a lesson that feels like it was pulled directly from today's headlines. Have you ever heard the English phrase, to be hoisted by your own petard? It's a fascinating idiom that means to be hurt or defeated by the very weapon or trap that you created to harm someone else. Well, just this morning, on July Honest, we witnessed a real-life example of this ultimate irony in a battle between two of the world's most powerful men. Today, the explosive feud between President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk has taken a shocking new turn. This isn't just a war of words anymore. The president has proposed a new line of attack, and in a stunning plot twist, he wants to use Elon Musk's own creation as the weapon against him. It is a story so full of irony. It's hard to believe it's not from a movie. Our learning goals for today are to dive deep into this real-world drama. First, we will understand the latest escalation in this incredible feud. Second, we will learn 10 essential vocabulary words that are key to understanding politics and finance. Third, we will master 2 very useful grammar points. The second conditional, for talking about hypothetical situations, and infinitives of purpose, for explaining why actions are taken. And finally, you'll get some great tips on how to practice this new language. This lesson will show you how to understand the complex language of power, politics, and personal rivalries. So, let's get started and unravel this incredible story. To understand today's news, we need to quickly remember where this conflict started. As we've discussed, this feud began when Elon Musk fiercely criticized a massive new economic bill from the Trump administration. Musk's main argument was that the bill would massively increase government spending and add to America's already huge national debt. The disagreement became very public and very personal, leading to what many called a political breakup. The situation got even more intense when Musk, expressing his frustration with both major political parties, called for a new political party that actually cares about the people, just last night, on June 30th. This brings us to the events of this morning, July Honest. President Trump has escalated the conflict dramatically. He went on his social media platform, Truth Social, and proposed a new plan. He suggested that a government organization should investigate and possibly cut billions of dollars in federal funding that goes to Elon Musk's companies, like Tesla and SpaceX. In his post, he attacked Musk directly and personally. He claimed that Elon Musk receives more government money than anyone else in history. He wrote, "Without government funding, Elon would probably have had to close his companies and pack his bags and go back to South Africa." He argued that if the government cut this funding for rocket tests, satellites, and electric cars, the country would save a fortune. Then he made his specific proposal. He asked, "Maybe we should have Doge look into this. Would save big money." So what is Doge? DOGE stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. And this, right here, is the incredible, unbelievable twist in the story. The great irony is that DOGE is an organization that Elon Musk himself worked tirelessly to create. He was a major force behind its creation. The entire purpose of DOGE was to find ways to cut wasteful government spending. Musk used his influence to help DOGE cut budgets and even fire federal employees, all in the name of saving money. Now, in a stunning turn of events, President Trump is proposing to use Musk's own creation, his own tool for efficiency, against him. He is suggesting that the most efficient thing to do would be to cut the funding to Musk's own companies. It is a masterful political move, a real-life example of being hoisted by your own petard. And the stakes are incredibly high. This is not just a symbolic threat. Elon Musk's business empire is deeply connected to the US government. Over the years, his companies, including Tesla and SpaceX, have received at least $38 billion in government contracts, loans, subsidies, and tax breaks. This government support was a key foundation that helped him become the world's richest person. SpaceX, for example, holds the primary contract with NASA for the Starship project, which is planned to take astronauts back to the Moon and eventually to Mars. This public feud is already having real-world consequences. Elon Musk is facing heavy criticism from many people, and the stock prices of his companies have been falling. This latest move by the president is the most serious threat yet to Musk's businesses. Now, to better understand this complex and ironic situation, let's learn some key vocabulary. Here are 10 important terms from our story. Our first word: funding. Funding is spelled F-U-N-D-I-N-G. Funding is money given by a government or organization for a special purpose. For example, the president proposed cutting federal funding for Musk's companies. Our school received funding for a new library. Our second word: budget. Budget is spelled B-U-D-G-E-T. A budget is a plan that shows how much money you have and how you will spend it. For example, Musk was worried the new bill would increase the government budget deficit. I need to create a monthly budget to save more money. Our third term: national debt. National debt is spelled N-A-T-I-O-N-A-L-D-E-B-T. The national debt is the total amount of money that a country's government has borrowed. For example, Musk is concerned about the growing national debt. Reducing the national debt is a major political challenge. Our fourth word: irony. Irony is spelled I-R-O-N-Y. Irony is a situation that is strange or funny because it is the opposite of what you expect. For example, the great irony is that Trump wants to use Musk's own creation against him. In a strange irony, the firefighter's house burned down. Our fifth term: escalate. Escalate is spelled E-S-C-A-L-A-T-E. To escalate means to become or make something become greater, more serious, or more intense. For example, the feud between the two men has continued to escalate. A small disagreement can sometimes escalate into a big fight. Our sixth term, government contract. Government contract is spelled government contract. A government contract is a formal agreement for a private company to provide goods or services to the government. For example, SpaceX has billions of dollars in government contracts with NASA. Winning a government contract can be very profitable for a business. Our seventh word, efficiency. Efficiency is spelled E-F-F-I-C-I-E-N-C-Y. Efficiency is the quality of working well in a quick and organized way, without wasting time or energy. For example, DOGE is the Department of Government Efficiency. Solar panels can increase the energy efficiency of your home. Our eighth phrase, to turn the tables. This is an idiom. To turn the tables means to change a situation so that you now have an advantage over someone who previously had an advantage over you. For example, by suggesting the use of Doge, Trump is trying to turn the tables on Musk. She was losing the chess game, but she made a brilliant move and turned the tables on her opponent. Our ninth word, backfire. Backfire is spelled B-A-C-K-F-I-R-E. If a plan backfires, it has the opposite result from the one you intended. For example, Musk's creation of Doge might backfire on him spectacularly. His plan to surprise his friend backfired when his friend wasn't home. And our 10th word, deficit. Deficit is spelled D-E-F-I-C-I-T. A deficit is the total amount by which money spent is more than money received. For example, Musk argued the bill would lead to a huge budget deficit. The company has had a trade deficit for the past 3 years. These are fantastic words for understanding this story. Now, let's look at the grammar we need to discuss these hypothetical and strategic situations. Our first grammar point today is the second conditional. We use this to talk about imaginary, hypothetical, or unreal situations in the present or future. It's perfect for exploring the what if scenario that President Trump has proposed. The structure is if plus past simple, would plus base verb. The if clause describes the imaginary condition, and the main clause describes the imaginary result. Let's look at President Trump's suggestion. He is imagining a future where the funding is cut. We can express this with the second conditional. If we cut his funding, the country would save a fortune. Here, the past simple form cut is used to show it's a hypothetical idea, not a real plan yet. Let's look at more examples of this unreal situation. If SpaceX lost its NASA contracts, its future would be in danger. Elon Musk would have to fire many employees if the government stopped all subsidies. If I were Elon Musk, I would be very worried right now. Note: in the second conditional, it is common and grammatically correct to use were instead of was for all subjects, including I, he, she, and it. This is a great structure for giving advice or exploring possibilities. For example, if I had more time, I would travel the world. Our second grammar point is using the infinitive of purpose. This sounds complicated, but it is actually very simple. It just means using to plus verb to explain why someone does something. It answers the question, why? Let's look at our story. Why did Musk help create Doge? He helped create Doge to find ways to reduce government spending. Why did Trump make his proposal? He made his proposal to put pressure on Elon Musk. Why does SpaceX have a contract with NASA? It has a contract to take astronauts to the moon. Why am I making this video? I am making this video to help you learn English. You use this structure all the time in your daily life. I went to the store to buy milk. She is studying hard to pass her exams. He exercises every day to stay healthy. The infinitive of purpose is a simple and clear way to explain your motivation. For practice, try to answer these questions using an infinitive of purpose. Why do you learn English? Why do you listen to music? Why do you eat breakfast? To finish, I want to share another quick, inspirational story about an invention that had unintended consequences, but in a wonderful way. It's a story about a plan that backfired into a huge success. The story of the Post. It note. In the 1960s, a scientist at the company 3M named Dr. Spencer Silver was trying to invent a super strong, powerful adhesive or glue, but his experiment was a failure. Instead, he accidentally created the opposite, a very weak, low-tack adhesive that could be stuck and unstuck easily without leaving a mark. No one knew what to do with it. It was a useless invention. Years later, a colleague of his, Art Fry, was singing in his church choir. He was getting frustrated because the little pieces of paper he used as bookmarks in his hymn book kept falling out. Suddenly, he remembered his colleague's failed invention. What if he could use that weak glue to create a bookmark that would stick to the page, but could be removed without damaging it? He put the weak adhesive on a small piece of paper, and the Post-it note was born. It was a perfect solution that came from an accidental discovery. The original purpose of the project was to create a strong glue, but its ultimate, unintended purpose was to create one of the most useful and famous office products in history. It's a wonderful reminder that sometimes our creations can take on a life of their own in ways we could never imagine. Today, we have witnessed the ultimate irony in a clash of titans. Let's review our key takeaways. First, we learned about the latest escalation in the feud between Trump and Musk, where the president has threatened to use Musk's own creation, the Doge, to cut his government funding. Second, we learned 10 key vocabulary words for this topic, including funding, irony, backfire, and national debt. Third, we mastered 2 important grammar points. The second conditional, for talking about hypothetical situations, and the infinitive of purpose, for explaining why we do things. I hope this lesson has shown you that you can understand even the most current and complex news stories. By learning the language and the context, you empower yourself. Thank you so much for your focus and for joining me today at Grow English Mastery. If you found this lesson interesting and useful, please tell us what you think in the comments. And please don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend who loves a good story, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting lessons. Keep learning, stay curious, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Goodbye for now. Hello and a very warm welcome to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and I am so glad you are with me today for a lesson that is unfolding as we speak. What happens when a war of words between two powerful men turns into an all-out war of threats? Yesterday, on July Honest, the political feud we have been following escalated to a stunning, unprecedented new level. The President of the United States publicly threatened to deport one of the world's richest and most influential people, his former ally, Elon Musk. As I record this video, the US Senate is in a marathon session, racing against a critical July 4th deadline for the very bill that started this entire fight. This is not just a story about the past. This is a drama that is happening right now. Today, we are going to break down this shocking new development, understand the language of threats and political conflict, and see what it means for everyone involved. Our learning goals for today are to dive into the heart of this conflict. First, we will understand the latest, most extreme chapter in the Trump-Musk feud. Second, we will learn 10 powerful vocabulary words for describing political battles and their consequences. Third, we will master 2 key grammar points: how to use reporting verbs to talk about threats and promises, and how to use conjunctions of contrast to show conflicting ideas. And finally, you'll get some great tips on how to practice these skills. This lesson will equip you to understand the dramatic headlines you see every day. The language of power can be intimidating, but we are going to make it simple and clear. So, let's get started. Let's begin with the actions that push this conflict to the boiling point. In the last few days, Elon Musk has not only continued his fierce criticism of President Trump's $5 trillion spending bill, but he has also escalated his own political ambitions. He publicly called the bill insane and told senators who support it that they should bow their heads in shame. Even more dramatically, he announced that he intends to form a new political party, which he calls the America Party, to fight against the current two-party system in the US. He vowed to challenge and try to remove any members of Congress who vote for the bill in the next elections. This was a direct challenge to the president's power and his agenda. and the president's response was swift and severe. Yesterday morning, on July honest, President Trump spoke to reporters and issued his most shocking threat to date. When asked about Elon Musk, he directly raised the possibility of deporting him. He said, "We will have to look into that. To deport someone means to force them to leave a country. This is an extreme threat, especially given that Elon Musk, while born in South Africa, is a naturalized American citizen." The president then brought up the government agency DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, which we know was founded with Musk's help. Trump referred to it as a monster that could turn around and swallow its own creator. This was a clear reference to his plan to use DOGE to investigate and cut the billions of dollars in government contracts and subsidies that go to Musk's companies, Tesla and SpaceX. He again attacked Musk's business success, saying, "No more rockets, satellites, or electric cars, and this country would save a fortune." He also pointed out the hypocrisy, reminding everyone that Musk was a major donor to his 2024 campaign, contributing nearly $300 million, but is now attacking the president's key policies. So how did Elon Musk respond to this direct threat of deportation? On his social media platform, X, he wrote a message that was both defiant and restrained. He said he would love to escalate the argument, but would restrain himself for now. However, he then made his own position even more extreme. In response to the accusations about depending on government money, Musk declared that he now wants to cut all government subsidies, including his own. He wrote, "I really want to cut them all," insisting that his businesses do not need government support to operate. This is a significant change from his past positions and deepens the ideological battle between the two men. This all-out war is having serious, real-world consequences. First, there are reports of growing concern and infighting within the Republican Party. They are worried that this public battle between two of their most famous figures could damage the party ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Second, the economic impact was immediate. After the president's comments, Tesla's stock price dropped by more than 6%. Financial analysts are worried that if Tesla loses government support, its future plans, especially its big bet on robotaxi technology, could be in serious trouble. As one market strategist, Dennis Dick, bluntly put it, "Musk needs Trump, but Trump doesn't need Musk." Now, to better understand this high-stakes drama, let's learn some key vocabulary. Here are 10 powerful words from our story. Our first word, deport. Deport is spelled D-E-P-O-R-T. To deport someone is to force them to leave a country, especially someone who is not a citizen or who has broken the law. For example, the president threatened to deport the billionaire. He was deported from the country for committing a crime. Our second word, escalate. Escalate is spelled E-S-C-A-L-A-T-E. To escalate means to become or make something become greater, more serious, or more intense. For example, the feud between the two men continues to escalate. The protest quickly escalated into a riot. Our third word, infighting. Infighting is spelled INFIGHTING. Infighting is conflict or disagreement between members of the same group or team. For example, the feud is causing infighting within the Republican Party. Constant infighting weakened the team's performance. Our fourth word, backlash. Backlash is spelled BACKLASH. A backlash is a strong, negative reaction from a large number of people. For example, the president's comments caused a public backlash. The company faced a backlash from customers after it raised its prices. Our fifth word, ally. Ally is spelled ALLY. An ally is a person or country that helps and supports another. For example, Musk was once a close ally of the president. It is important to have good allies in difficult times. Our sixth word, hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is spelled HYPOCRISY. Hypocrisy is behavior in which someone pretends to have moral standards or opinions that they do not actually have. For example, the president pointed out the hypocrisy of Musk, criticizing a bill after being a major donor. It's hypocrisy to say you care about the environment and then fly everywhere in a private jet. Our seventh word, retaliation. Retaliation is spelled RETALIATION. Retaliation is the act of harming someone because they have harmed you. For example, the threat to cut contracts was an act of retaliation. He was seeking retaliation for the insult. Our eighth word, subsidy. Subsidy is spelled SUBSIDY. A subsidy is money given by a government to help an industry or business. For example, Musk now says he wants to cut all government subsidies. The agricultural industry receives large subsidies. Our ninth word, consequences. Consequences is spelled CONSEQUENCES. Consequences are the results of an action, especially negative results. For example, the feud is having serious financial consequences for Tesla. You must be prepared to accept the consequences of your choices. And our 10th term, marathon session. Marathon session is spelled MARATHON SESION. A marathon session is a meeting or event that lasts for an extremely long time. For example, the Senate is debating the bill in a marathon session. They finished the project after a marathon session of coding. These are excellent words for describing intense situations. Now, let's look at the grammar we can use to report on this drama. Our first grammar point today is using reporting verbs for threats and promises. When we report what people say, we don't always have to use say or tell. We can use more specific, powerful verbs to show the speaker's intention. Let's look at verbs for threats. The most common is to threaten to do something. Example, President Trump threatened to deport Elon Musk. Example, he threatened to cut federal contracts. This is much more powerful than saying, he said he might cut contracts. Now let's look at verbs for promises or strong intentions. We can use verbs like to vow to do something or to pledge to do something. To vow means to make a serious promise or determination. Example: Elon Musk vowed to challenge any senator who supports the bill. To pledge means to formally promise to give or do something. Example: in the past, Musk pledged his support for the president's campaign. Using these specific reporting verbs makes your language more precise and dynamic. Our second grammar point is using conjunctions of contrast. These are words we use to connect two different or opposite ideas. They are essential for showing the complexity and contradictions in a story like this one. Common conjunctions of contrast are, however, although, even though, and despite. However is used to introduce a statement that contrasts with the previous one. It usually starts a new sentence. Example: Musk was a major donor to the campaign. However, he is now one of the president's biggest critics. Although and even though are used to begin a clause that contains an idea that is surprising or opposite to the main part of the sentence. Even though is a bit stronger than although. Example: although Musk says he will restrain himself, he continues to attack the bill. Example: even though he is one of the world's richest men, he is still vulnerable to political pressure. Despite is followed by a noun or a gerund, ing verb. It means without being affected by. Example: despite the president's threats, Musk has not backed down. Example: despite being a former ally, he is now a fierce opponent. These words are the key to showing complexity in your writing and speaking. To finish our lesson today, I want to share an inspirational story about a leader who took the exact opposite approach to dealing with his critics. This is the story of Abraham Lincoln and his team of rivals. When Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States in 1860, the country was on the brink of civil war. He knew he needed the best and brightest people to help him lead the nation through its darkest time. So, what did he do? He didn't surround himself with his friends and loyal supporters. Instead, he did something extraordinary. He appointed his main political rivals, the very men he had defeated, to win the presidency, to the most important positions in his cabinet. These men, like William H. Seward and Salmon P. Chase, were brilliant and powerful, but they had also been his harshest critics. They often disagreed with him. But Lincoln believed that in a time of crisis, he needed to hear dissenting opinions, not just agreement. He valued their intelligence and their different perspectives. He was strong enough and confident enough to have his ideas challenged. By bringing his rivals into his government, Lincoln forged a strong, unified team from a group of ambitious and conflicting personalities. This team of rivals helped him navigate the immense challenges of the Civil War and, ultimately, to save the nation. Lincoln's story is a powerful lesson in leadership. It shows that true strength is not found in silencing or threatening your critics, but in having the wisdom and confidence to listen to them. Today's lesson has been a whirlwind. Let's summarize what we have learned. First, we followed the shocking escalation in the feud between Trump and Musk, which has now reached the point of a public threat of deportation. Second, we learned 10 powerful vocabulary words to describe this conflict, including deport, escalate, infighting, and backlash. Third, we mastered 2 key grammar points, using reporting verbs like threaten and vow to show intention, and using conjunctions of contrast like however and despite to connect opposing ideas. This ongoing story is a powerful reminder of how quickly political landscapes can change. By learning the language to describe these events, you are empowering yourself to be an active and informed observer of the world. Thank you so much for your focus and for joining me today at Grow English Mastery. If you found this lesson helpful and interesting, please let us know in the comments. And please, don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting lessons that bring the news to life. Keep practicing, stay curious, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson. Goodbye for now. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and I'm so glad you could join me today. What happens when 2 of the most powerful and famous men in the world have a very public, very angry disagreement? What happens when a president and a billionaire, who were once allies, suddenly become opponents? Today, we are diving deep into an explosive story that has shaken the world of politics and technology, the feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. This is a story about power, money, loyalty, and the incredible impact that words can have. It's a drama playing out on social media, in interviews, and in the halls of Congress. It's a perfect real-world example of how communication, both good and bad, can change relationships and even affect a country's future. So, get ready for a lesson that is as exciting as any movie, but with the amazing benefit of making your English skills much, much stronger. This lesson is carefully designed to help you achieve some very important learning goals. By the end of our time together, you will not only understand the dramatic story behind this major political clash, but you will also master 2 essential grammar skills that are crucial for storytelling and everyday conversation. Our first grammar focus will be reported speech. This is how we tell someone what another person said. It's used all the time in news, stories, and gossip. We will make this simple and clear for you. Our second grammar focus will be conditionals, specifically the first conditional. This is how we talk about real possibilities in the future and the consequences of our actions. It's the language of plans, promises, and warnings. Many students find these grammar points challenging, but I promise that by the end of this lesson, you will be able to use both reported speech and conditionals with confidence and accuracy. And of course, we will learn some fantastic new vocabulary along the way. So, Let's get started. Our story begins with what seemed to be a powerful alliance. On one side, we have Donald Trump, the President of the United States. On the other, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and the richest man in the world. For a long time, they appeared to be on the same team. Musk had been a huge financial donor to Trump's political campaign, giving nearly $300 million. This money helped the president's Republican Party win elections. President Trump had even praised Musk in the past, once appointing him to lead a special team to help cut government spending. They were seen together at public events, like UFC fights, looking like friends. But this powerful relationship suddenly exploded. What was the trigger? What caused this political earthquake? It was a single, massive piece of legislation, a new tax and spending bill proposed by President Trump. A bill, as we know, is a proposal for a new law. This particular bill was very important to the president and his party. However, it was also very controversial. Financial analysts predicted that if this bill became law, it would add an incredible $2.4 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. The national debt is the total amount of money that a country's government has borrowed. This huge increase worried many people, including some members of the president's own Republican Party who are known as fiscal conservatives. A fiscal conservative is someone who believes in being very careful with government spending and avoiding debt. And one of the most powerful voices to speak out against the bill was Elon Musk. He didn't just disagree with it. He went on social media and used incredibly strong language. He called the president's bill a despicable monstrosity. A monstrosity is something that is very large and ugly, and despicable means deserving hatred and contempt. These were not the words of a friend. They were the words of an angry opponent. As you can imagine, President Trump's reaction was swift and severe. In politics, words have consequences. During an interview on Saturday, the president officially declared that his relationship with Elon Musk was over. When a reporter asked him if the relationship had ended, Trump said, "I would say so." He was then asked if he wanted to patch things up, which means to repair a broken relationship. The president's answer was a simple, firm no. He added, "I have no intention of talking to him." But the president didn't stop there. He issued a very clear warning, a warning aimed directly at Elon Musk's power as a billionaire donor. Trump warned that there would be serious consequences if Elon Musk decided to use his money to fund Democratic candidates, the political opponents of the Republican Party. This was a direct threat, connecting Musk's future actions to a promise of negative results. This public feud immediately created a huge problem for the president. Musk's opposition to the bill made it much harder to pass in Congress. The Republican Party has only a slim majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate. A slim majority means they have only a few more members than the opposition party. To pass the bill, they needed almost every Republican to vote for it. But now, with a powerful figure like Musk calling it a monstrosity, some of those fiscally conservative Republicans were getting nervous. They were starting to have doubts. Elon Musk didn't just criticize the bill. He also made a bigger political move. He called for the creation of a brand new political party. He said this new party would represent the 80% of people in the middle, suggesting that both the Republican and Democratic parties were too extreme. So the situation was explosive. A president and a billionaire were in a public war of words. A major piece of legislation was in danger, and the billionaire was threatening to disrupt the entire political system. But then, something interesting happened. It seems Elon Musk may have decided to de-escalate the conflict. To de-escalate means to reduce the intensity of a conflict. Musk quietly deleted some of his most critical social media posts about President Trump. One of the most controversial deleted posts was a reply to another user. The user had written, "President versus Elon. Who wins? My bet is on Elon. Trump should be impeached and J.D. Vance should replace him." To this, Musk had simply replied, "Agreed." To agree that the sitting president should be impeached, which is the process of charging a president with a crime to remove them from office, is an incredibly serious statement. The fact that Musk deleted this post suggests that perhaps he felt he had gone too far. People who were in contact with Musk said that his anger had cooled down and that he might want to patch things up with the president after all. This act of deleting the posts is a classic example of backpedaling, reversing your previous position or opinion. Other people in the political world also started to react. The vice president, J.D. Vance, a man known for his deep loyalty to President Trump, went on a podcast and called Musk's criticism a huge mistake. Loyalty means a strong feeling of support or allegiance. While showing his loyalty to the president, Vance also said he hoped Musk would come back to his senses and support the administration again. It was an attempt to be a peacemaker, to try and bring the powerful donor back to their side. This whole drama shows the complex and sometimes fragile nature of political alliances. They can be built on shared goals and personal relationships, but they can be broken by disagreements over principle and policy. The story of the Trump-Musk feud is a perfect lesson in the power of words, the influence of money, and the art of political strategy. This is the perfect moment to transition to our grammar focus, because this story is filled with amazing examples of reported speech and conditionals. Let's start with reported speech. As I mentioned, reported speech, which is also called indirect speech, is how we tell someone what another person said without using their exact words. It's a retelling of a direct quote. The basic idea is that when we change a direct quote into reported speech, we often have to change the tense of the verb. We move the tense one step back into the past. For example, the present simple becomes the past simple. The present continuous becomes the past continuous. Will becomes would. Let me show you with examples from our story. Direct quote from President Trump. "I have no intention of talking to him." In this quote, the verb is have, which is in the present simple tense. To change it to reported speech, we could say, President Trump said that he had no intention of talking to him. Have becomes had. It moves one step into the past. Let's look at the reporter's question. Direct question. Has your relationship with Elon Musk ended? This is in the present perfect tense. In reported speech, we could say, the reporter asked if his relationship with Elon Musk had ended. Has ended becomes had ended, changing from present perfect to past perfect. Another. Key part of reported speech is changing the pronouns. Direct quote from Musk, replying to a tweet, "My bet is on Elon." Reported speech. The user said that his bet was on Elon. My changes to his. You have to change the pronoun to match the new context of the sentence. Now let's move on to our second grammar point, the first conditional. This is one of the most useful structures in English because we use it all the time to talk about the future. We use the first conditional to talk about a real or likely possibility in the future and its result or consequence. The structure is very simple. It has two parts, or clauses. The if clause, which describes the condition, uses the present simple tense. The main clause, which describes the result, uses will plus the infinitive verb. The structure is if present simple, will plus infinitive. The most powerful example from our story is President Trump's warning. Let's analyze it. He warned of serious consequences if Musk funds Democratic candidates. Let's turn that into a full first conditional sentence. If Elon Musk funds the Democrats, there will be serious consequences. Do you see the structure? The if clause, if Elon Musk funds the Democrats, uses the present simple verb funds. The main clause, there will be serious consequences, uses will be. This shows a real future possibility and its direct result. We can also reverse the clauses. The meaning is exactly the same. There will be serious consequences if Elon Musk funds the Democrats. Notice that when the if clause comes second, we don't use a comma. Mastering these two grammar points will make your English sound much more sophisticated and will allow you to tell stories and discuss possibilities with great clarity. Now, let's put this knowledge into action. Learning is great, but applying what you learn is even better. Here are some specific techniques you can use to practice reported speech and conditionals this week. First, for your listening and speaking skills, I have a fun exercise. Watch an interview clip on YouTube, maybe 5 minutes long. Listen to a question and an answer. Pause the video. Then, try to report what was said. For example, you can say to yourself, the interviewer asked the guest about his new movie. The guest said that he was very excited about it. This is fantastic practice for both listening and speaking reported speech. Second, for your reading and writing skills. Find a news article about our story today, the Trump-Musk feud. The article will probably have direct quotes with quotation marks. Your task is to rewrite those direct quotes as reported speech. This will force you to practice changing tenses and pronouns, which is the best way to master the skill. Third, let's practice conditionals. For your speaking skills, think about your plans for the weekend. Make 3 sentences using the first conditional. For example, if the weather is good, I will go to the park. If my friend calls me, we will get coffee. If I have time, I will watch a new movie. Say them out loud. This makes the structure feel natural. Finally, for your writing skills, write a short email to a friend about a plan. Use the first conditional to explain the plan. For example, "Hi, Sam. I was thinking about the party on Saturday. If I finish work early, I will bring some snacks. And if you have time before the party, we can go together." These simple active exercises are the key to moving grammar from your head into your confident spoken English. Please try at least one of them. Now, it's time to zoom in on 10 key vocabulary words from our story. Understanding these words will not only help you understand this specific story, but will also help you understand political and business news in general. Our first word is consequences. That's spelled consequences. Consequences. Consequences are the results or effects of an action, often negative ones. For example, President Trump warned of serious consequences. Every action has consequences, so think before you act. Our second word is donor, spelled D-O-N-O-R, donor. A donor is a person or organization that gives something, especially money, to a charity, a political party, or another organization. For example, Elon Musk was a major donor to the president's campaign. The hospital is looking for blood donors. Our third word is bill. A simple but important one. Spelled B-I-L-L, bill. In a political context, a bill is a formal proposal for a new law, which is discussed and voted on by a parliament or Congress. For example, the president's new tax and spending bill is very controversial. The bill was passed and has now become law. Number 4 is monstrosity, spelled M-O-N-S-T-R-O-S-I-T-Y, monstrosity. A monstrosity is something that is very large, ugly, and frightening. It's a very strong word used for criticism. For example, Musk called the bill a despicable monstrosity. Many people think the new office building is a monstrosity. Our fifth term is actually 2 words, slim majority. Slim is spelled S-L-I-M, and majority is M-A-J-O-R-I-T-Y. A slim majority is a situation where one group has only a very small advantage in number over another group in a vote. For example, the Republican Party has a slim majority in the House. It will be difficult to pass the law with such a slim majority. Next, another 2-word term, fiscal conservative. Fiscal is spelled F-I-S-C-A-L. Conservative is spelled C-O-N-S-E-R-V-A-T-I-V-E. A fiscal conservative is a person who believes that the government should not spend a lot of money and should avoid having a large national debt. For example, the bill worried many fiscal conservatives in the party. As a fiscal conservative, he believes in lower taxes and less government spending. Our 7th word is de-escalate. That's spelled D-E-E-S-C-A-L-A-T-E, de-escalate. To de-escalate means to reduce the intensity, size, or seriousness of a conflict or dangerous situation. For example, by deleting his tweets, Musk seemed to be trying to de-escalate the conflict. The police were trained to de-escalate tense situations without using force. Number 8 is impeachment, spelled I-M-P-E-A-C-H-M-E-N-T, impeachment. Impeachment is the process of formally charging a public official with a serious crime in an attempt to remove them from office. For example, Musk deleted a post that supported the impeachment of the president. The impeachment trial lasted for 2 weeks. Our ninth word is loyalty, spelled Loyalty, loyalty. Loyalty is the quality of being faithful and supportive to a person, country, or organization. For example, Vice President J.D. Vance showed his loyalty to the president. The soldiers showed great loyalty to their commander. And our final word is backpedal. That's spelled Backpedal, backpedal. To backpedal means to reverse your previous opinion or position on something. It often implies you are doing so because of pressure. For example, after his comments caused a controversy, the politician began to backpedal. She accused him of backpedaling on his promise. There you have it. 10 powerful and useful words. Try to make your own sentences with them. This is the best way to make them part of your permanent vocabulary. Now that our vocabulary is stronger, let's move on. In the next section, we will look at more examples of our grammar points from the story. Seeing them in different contexts will help you understand them completely. Let's do a deep dive into more grammar examples from the feud between Trump and Musk. First, let's focus on reported speech. Imagine you are telling a friend about this story over coffee. How would you report the key events? You might say, so the story started when Musk said that the president's bill was a monstrosity. Notice, you are reporting what Musk said. The original quote was, "The bill is a monstrosity." The verb is, present simple, changed to was, past simple. Then you could continue. Then, Trump told reporters that his relationship with Musk was over. The direct quote was, "My relationship with Musk is over." My changed to his, and is changed to was. And you could add, the Vice President J.D. Vance commented that Musk's criticism was a huge mistake. Direct quote, Musk's criticism is a huge mistake. Again, is becomes was. This tense shift is the most important rule of reported speech. It happens because when we are reporting, the original speaking event happened in the past. Now, let's practice with first conditionals. This grammar is all about cause and effect in the future. The main example is Trump's threat. If Musk funds the Democrats, there will be serious consequences. Let's imagine some other possible scenarios using this structure. A Republican strategist might think, if Musk does not support our party, we will have trouble raising money for the next election. An analyst might say, if this bill passes, the national debt will increase significantly. A voter might hope, if they patch things up, they will be a powerful team again. In all these examples, we have a real possibility in the if clause, using the present simple, and the likely result in the main clause, using will. This structure is incredibly useful for making predictions, plans, and discussing possibilities. I hope these extra examples have made the grammar even clearer. The key, as always, is to notice these structures when you read and listen, and to try using them yourself when you speak and write. I want to take a moment to share an inspirational thought with you, based on our story today. The feud between Trump and Musk teaches us a powerful lesson. Words have consequences. A single phrase, despicable monstrosity was enough to break a powerful alliance and create a major political crisis. On the other hand, the act of deleting a tweet showed a desire to take back those words, to de-escalate. This reminds me of our own journey in learning English. Sometimes we are afraid to speak. We worry that we will say the wrong thing, use the wrong grammar, or choose the wrong word. We are afraid of the consequences, of being misunderstood, of feeling embarrassed. But think about this story. Even the most powerful and articulate people in the world sometimes say things they might later regret or wish they had phrased differently. Musk deleted his posts. This shows that it's human to make mistakes with words. It is okay. The important thing is not to be perfect. The important thing is to communicate. The goal is to try. Your words have power. Even with a small vocabulary or imperfect grammar, you have the power to ask a question, to share an idea, to make a new friend, to connect with another human being. Don't let the fear of making a mistake silence you. Every time you speak, you get a little bit stronger. Every mistake you make is a lesson that helps you improve. So, be brave like Musk when he shared his strong opinion, but also be wise like him when he decided to backpedal. Be open to trying, and be open to correcting yourself. That is the true path to fluency and confidence. We have had an incredibly rich and detailed lesson today. We've untangled a complex political drama, and we've learned some crucial English skills along the way. Let's quickly summarize what we have accomplished. Here are our key takeaways from this lesson. First, we understood the dramatic feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, a conflict sparked by a disagreement over a major tax and spending bill, which highlights the powerful influence of money and personality in modern politics. Second, we learned how to report what other people have said using the rules of reported speech, including changing tenses and pronouns. Third, we learned how to talk about real future possibilities and their consequences using the first conditional structure, if, will. And finally, we added 10 fantastic and relevant words to our English vocabulary, including consequences, donor, monstrosity, and de-escalate. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with one final thought. Every single day, the world gives you a free English lesson. Every news story you read, every podcast you listen to, every movie you watch is an opportunity to learn. Be curious. Pay attention to the language people use. Ask yourself, why did they use that word? Or, what is that grammar structure? This active curiosity will accelerate your learning more than anything else. You are doing great work just by being here. Keep going. And now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this feud? Who do you think is right? And what do you think will happen next? Try to use a first conditional sentence in your answer. For example, you could write, if they don't patch things up, I think. I'm really looking forward to reading your predictions and opinions in the comments section below. If you found this lesson valuable and engaging, please take a moment to click the like button. Share it with someone you know who is also learning English, and most importantly, subscribe to Grow English Mastery so you won't miss our next lesson together. Thank you once again for your hard work and for joining me today. I'm Scarlett. Keep learning, stay positive, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now. Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Grow English Mastery. My name is Scarlett, and it's wonderful to have you here with me today. Today, we are diving into a very modern, very interesting, and maybe a little controversial topic. We are going to talk about two of the most famous and powerful people on the planet, the tech billionaire Elon Musk, and the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Now, if you follow the news, even just a little bit, you might have seen some strange interactions between these two men. You might have seen Elon Musk, one of the richest people in history, publicly saying negative things about President Trump. And your first reaction, like my first reaction, might be, why? Why would he do that? It seems like a very risky, very dangerous thing to do. It seems a little crazy. After all, President Trump is the leader of the United States. He has the power to make decisions that could be worth billions of dollars to Elon Musk's companies, like Tesla and SpaceX. So why would Musk risk making him angry? Well, today, we are going to explore a fascinating theory. An idea that suggests this is not a crazy, emotional mistake. The theory says this is actually a brilliant, calculated, long-term plan. It's a power move. So, get comfortable, because we are going to unpack this story. It's a story about money, power, strategy, and the future. And by exploring this story, we are going to learn some fantastic English. In this lesson, you will learn how to talk about strategy, power, and long-term plans. We will explore the story of Musk and Trump to practice our listening and reading skills. We will also learn 10 new vocabulary words related to business and politics, which will help you understand the world a little better. And for our grammar, focus. We are going to master the use of modal verbs of speculation. Words like might, could, and must be. These grammar tools are absolutely perfect for talking about this topic, because nobody knows the real truth. We can only look at the information and guess, or speculate, about what is happening behind the scenes. By the end of this 40-minute lesson, my goal is for you to feel much more confident. You'll be able to understand complex news stories like this more easily, and you'll be able to express your own opinions and ideas about complex situations in English. Are you ready? Let's begin. First, let's set the scene. Let's understand the basic problem. Elon Musk is the CEO of several huge companies. You know them. Tesla, the famous electric car company. SpaceX, the company that sends rockets and people into space. Starlink, which provides internet from satellites. The Boring Company, which digs tunnels under cities. All of these companies are connected in some way to the United States government. For example, people who buy Tesla cars sometimes get money back from the government, a kind of discount called a subsidy. This encourages people to buy electric cars. SpaceX has huge billion-dollar contracts with the government. Specifically, with NASA and the Department of Defense. They launch satellites for national security and send American astronauts to the International Space Station. So, you see the connection. Elon Musk's business empire benefits a lot from a good relationship with the US government. The government is a very important customer and partner. This means the person in the White House, the president, has a lot of power over Musk's success. The president can sign laws that help Tesla or hurt Tesla. The president can approve new contracts for SpaceX or give them to a competitor. So, with this information, we have to ask the question again. Why would Elon Musk publicly provoke the president? Why would he risk annoying the one person who could, with the stroke of a pen, turn off the flow of billions of dollars to his companies? It doesn't seem logical. It seems like a very bad business decision, a mistake. But here is where our story gets interesting. What if it's not a mistake? This is the central idea we are exploring today. Some analysts, people who study business and politics, have a different theory. They look at Elon Musk's history. And his history shows that he is a very unusual player. He often does things that look strange or chaotic, but in the end, they turn out to be part of a bigger, more brilliant plan. He seems to enjoy chaos. He uses it. He turns confusion into his advantage. This is an idea that many investors, the people who put money into his companies, seem to believe. They have seen him do it again and again. So, when they see him do something that looks risky, they don't panic. They think, okay, what is his real plan? What is the long-term strategy here? They assume it's part of a bigger game. So let's look at the evidence for this theory. What if the richest man in the world is playing a different game than everyone else? A power game where he isn't just thinking about today, but is positioning himself for the next 10, 20, or 30 years. Let's look at some numbers that the theory points to. The story goes that in late 2024 and early 2025, Elon Musk was a powerful supporter of Donald Trump's campaign to return to the White House. The theory suggests Musk used his resources, maybe more than $300 million, to help Trump. How? Through his media platform, X, formerly known as Twitter. Through political donations. Through his network of influential people. This support, the theory says, might have been a key reason why Trump won a very close election. Now, here is the incredible part of the theory. Just a few months after President Trump was back in office, Elon Musk's personal net worth, the total value of all his money and assets, increased by more than $150 billion. $150 billion. If you believe the theory, he invested $300 million, and he got back $150 billion. That is a return on investment of 500 times. For every $1 he put in, he got $500 back. If this is true, it might be the single fastest and largest increase in personal wealth in modern history. These kinds of amazing returns, they don't usually happen by accident. They are often the result of careful, strategic planning. They come from positioning yourself perfectly. And we need to remember another important fact. Elon Musk is only 53 years old. In the world of politics and global power, that is quite young. He has decades ahead of him. He has incredible energy, a constant stream of new ideas, and an almost unlimited amount of money to fund those ideas. Now, because he was not born in the United States, he cannot run for president himself. The US Constitution has a rule about that. But he doesn't need to be president to have political power. He is in a position where he can potentially shape who becomes president. He can influence which ideas dominate American political life. In simple terms, he could become a kingmaker. A kingmaker is a person who has the power to choose the king, but is not the king themselves. And how does he have this power? A big part of it is his ownership of X. Today, social media platforms are where political conversations happen. They are incredibly powerful. By controlling X, one of the world's most important digital town squares, Musk can shape public opinion. He can amplify the voices of his allies, making them seem more popular and powerful. He can control the flow of political discussion on a scale that is bigger than any traditional newspaper or television channel. And, of course, there is the money. He has more personal capital, more ready-to-use money than any political action committee or super PAC in existence. He can direct his resources wherever he wants, whenever he wants, to support the people and ideas he prefers. So when we see this picture, the idea of Musk attacking Trump seems even more confusing. But let's go back to the theory. The theory says this is all part of the game. It's a very public and very complex negotiation. Think about it this way. People who bet against Elon Musk have, historically, lost a lot of money. The short sellers, the investors who bet that Tesla's stock price will go down, have lost billions and billions of dollars over the years. Time after time, they would bet against him, and time after time, they were proven wrong. Tesla stock would fall. People would say the company was finished, and then suddenly, it would explode in value, higher than ever before. Betting against Musk has become a kind of financial suicide. He seems to grow in chaos. He welcomes uncertainty. He has mastered the art of turning doubt into dominance. Now, let's add another piece to our puzzle. According to reports, Musk had a short but very visible period working in the White House. Some people humorously called it his spring internship. During this time, he was part of a business advisory council for President Trump. He was inside the world of political power. He probably learned a lot more than what was reported in the newspapers. He saw firsthand how political messages are created. He saw how power is used and distributed. He learned how to have influence, not just through writing policy, but through provocation, through controlling a platform, and through building a personal brand. And then he left. And almost immediately after leaving, he started to criticize the president. The timing is important. The theory suggests this wasn't an emotional reaction. It was a calculated pivot, a planned change in direction. So why the change? What happened? Here we have to speculate again. We have to use our new grammar skills. What might have been the reason? One theory is that it was personal and professional. Some people speculate that Musk recommended someone to be the new head of NASA, the Space Agency, and President Trump might have rejected his candidate. For someone like Musk, who is building a space empire with SpaceX, having a friendly face leading NASA would be very valuable. So this rejection could have been a reason. Another, and perhaps more powerful theory, is about money. It's about Tesla. The government was creating a new bill with tax incentives for electric vehicles. This was a plan to give car companies and customers benefits for going electric. But in a surprise move, Tesla, the biggest and most important electric car company in the world, was excluded from the list of companies that would get these benefits. This was a huge shock. Being left out could have cost Tesla billions of dollars. So, was Musk's change of heart about his ideals? Maybe. But the theory suggests it was much more likely about money and control. He had supported the president, and now his most famous company was being punished. So, he changed his strategy. The public criticism began. And what about the other side of this game? What about President Trump? His reaction is also very interesting. He didn't really fight back. He has mostly remained calm, focused on his policy agenda, and has largely stayed out of the public fight with Musk. He has acted very presidential. Why? Well, maybe he understands the game too. He might recognize what others don't see yet, that the American political stage is big enough for both of them. There is room for two powerful forces to compete, to challenge each other, and to coexist. Perhaps Trump sees Musk not as an enemy, but as a powerful, unpredictable force that he needs to negotiate with, not destroy. Many people criticize Musk's approach. They say it's erratic, it's unstable, it's just based on his mood. But his history has shown again and again that he is often playing the long game better than anyone else. He is thinking years or decades into the future. So maybe this public fight is not a mistake. Maybe it is a brilliant strategic move. A move designed to build his own influence, to control the story, and to shape the future of both power and innovation for the next decade. It sounds crazy, but maybe, just maybe, it's genius. Okay, that is a lot of information to think about. It's a very complex and modern story. Now, to help us understand and talk about these ideas, we are going to learn some of the key vocabulary from the story. I have selected 10 important words for you. For each word, I will say it, spell it out, give you a simple definition, and then give you some example sentences. Are you ready? Let's power up our vocabulary. Our first word is strategy. S-T-R-A-T.
Bà muốn nói nấy, bà muốn bắt nấy, thích thì nói nấy, sáng nay nói cái chuyện bắt đầu cấy là phải đo mực nước. Trong khi đó là trong tài liệu kỹ thuật của phương pháp á, là sau cấy